Students, today we have one more topic to discuss, that is Gram-Smith orthogonalization procedure. And in the previous video, we discussed what is the geometrical representation of signals, where we have seen how to represent a signal set over two-dimensional Euclidean space using orthonormal basis function, and they are also energy signals. And today's video is about what is the procedure known as Gram-Smith orthogonalization procedure. And this procedure is mainly used to find the orthonormal basis function which are really necessary to represent a m energy signals over two-dimensional Euclidean space. Since we require basis function because they are a part of representing a signals in two-dimensional Euclidean space. So if there are m number of signals in the signal set Si of t, and we have to represent each signal geometrically over two-dimensional space with the help of basis functions. So the need of basis function is very simple and clear. They are required to represent the m different signals in the set geometrically over two-dimensional space. And to calculate different orthonormal basis functions, we have a procedure, and that procedure is known as Gram-Smith orthogonalization procedure. And here, if we want to find the first basis function, that is pi1 of t for the signal s1 of t, the formula is pi1 of t is equal to s1 of t divided by square root of e1. So here S1 of t is the first signal, energy signal, divided by the energy of the signal S1 of t, that is denoted by what? E1, square of E1, where E1 is the energy of the signal S1 of t, which is given by integration of the squared signal with respect to time dt over 0 to capital T, where capital T is the duration of signal S1 of t. And from this equation number 1, the signal S1 of t can be represented as square root of E1, which is multiplied this LHS term pi1 of t. So S1 of t is equal to square root of E1 pi1 of t. And the same signal S1 of t can also be expressed in terms of its coefficient as well as pi1 of t. See, S1 of t means it is a part of Si of t signal set, and pi1 of t is any jth basis function. So j is the index used to denote the basis function, and I is the index used to denote any signal in the signal set Si of t. So here you can observe here S1 of t means I is equal to 1. By j of t, in place of j we have 1, and any coefficient for the signal Si of t is given by Sij, and here I is equal to 1 and here j is equal to 1. So Sij becomes what? S11, and this S11 is the first coefficient of the signal S1 of t. And if I represent this signal S1 of t by a signal set S1, and the first element in this signal set is S11 in the column vector. So by comparing these two equations, the coefficient can be equated to the square root of E1, where E1 is the energy of signal S1 of t. Similarly, to represent the second signal S2 of t geometrically over two-dimensional space, we need another basis function pi2 of t, and to find the second basis function pi2 of t, we need a new intermediate function that relates the second signal S2 of t with the coefficients of the first signal as well as the first basis function, and which is given by g2 of t is equal to S2 of t minus S21, that is the first coefficient of this signal S2 of t which is multiplied by the previous basis function, that is phi 1 of t. So S2 of t will be given. Phi 1 of t we know, which is calculated in the previous step, and we want to know what is this S21. And this S21 is the first coefficient or the first element in the signal set S2 or signal vector S2. And this is calculated as S21 is equal to, please remember, the general form of this coefficient is Sij, and in place of I we have 2, and in place of j we have 1. So I is equal to 2 means that is it integration from 0 to t. So this is Si of t. Since I is equal to 2, the signal Si of 2 is there. And j is equal to 1 means the jth basis function will be phi 1 of t. So it is just integrating the product of S2 of t by j of t, where j is equal to 1, so it is phi 1 of t into dt. So now the equation to calculate or to find out the second basis function phi 2 of t is equal to g2 of t divided by the square root of the energy of this new intermediate function g2 of t is given by Eg2. So this is the energy of the signal g2 of t, and which is calculated as similar way 0 to t g2 square t into dt. Similarly, to find ith basis function phi I of t for the signal Si of t, the intermediate function is gi of t, which is defined as, in general, ith intermediate function required to calculate ith basis function, which is expressed as gi of t is equal to Si of t, that is ith signal Si of t, minus you will get the product of the coefficients as well as the previous basis function, where j is equal to I1 to I minus 1, where I is equal to 1 to m Sij, which is multiplied by pi j of t. For example, if I want to find the basis function for the third signal, that is I is equal to 3 S3 of t, and here the intermediate function that you have to consider is g3 of t, because I is equal to 3. So g3 of t is equal to s3 of t minus the summation varies from j is equal to 1 to I minus 1. I is 3, so 3 minus 1 is 2. So the summation index j varies from 1 to 2, right? So I is equal to 3, that is fixed, and j varies from 1 to 2. So what are our coefficients and basis functions? So S3 1 pi 1 of t plus, so here it is minus, so minus into plus is minus, and the next coefficient is S3 is fixed, now j is changed to 2, so S3 2 multiplied by the second basis function pi 2 of t. So don't take S3 3 because the j varies only from 1 to 2 and I is 3, and here Sij is coefficient, which is calculated by integrating the signal ith signal, which is multiplied by j basis function over time dt with respect to what, the dt, okay, over interval 0 to t. So the formula to calculate or to find out ith basis function pi I of t is equal to gi of t, that is ith intermediate function, divided by the square root of its energy, and the energy of gi of t is given by Egi, which is calculated as the squared intermediate function ith function over the integration 0 to t with respect to time dt. And one important thing you have to remember is the dimension n, which is for basis function, and it should be less than or equal to the dimension of the signal set, that is Si of t m. So we have two conditions, and depending upon those two conditions, we have to choose whether n should be less than or equal to m, or n should be equal to m. The first condition is, the first possibility is, the signals S1 of t, S2 of t, so on up to Sn of t form a linearly independent set, in which case we have to choose n is equal to m, And the second possibility is the signal S1 of t, S2 of t, Sn of t are not, if they are not linearly independent, means if they are dependent linearly, in which case we have to choose n should be less than m, and the intermediate function gi of t must be 0 for I is greater than n. And when you solve the example on this Graham-Smith orthogonalization procedure, so we'll discuss what are these two possibilities and how to choose the n and m in the next video.